Welcome back, YouTube. So in my last video, we talked about where's the liquidity, and we mentioned that the fact that because of momentum dying, and we're seeing some of the candles kind of weaken, we were looking at potentially going down to grab some liquidity before we can talk about like some retests and stuff like that. And I want to point out the area that we're in right now because it's very important that the community in general, if you're looking to get in at these price points, it's very important to kind of wait for these candles to close. Now, obviously, that depends on where or how you're playing the coin in any of these coins here. But if you're trying to get an indicator of where the market's going to run and stuff like that, remember our Fed meeting isn't until later next month. And we have some time before we have some concrete evidence as far as what the Fed is going to do to us missing our mark here on like CPI and stuff, and see if we priced in a lot of the capital correctly. Because obviously they can, since some economists came out and said that they expected it, they could do nothing. They could just say, hey, we're going to do 5.25, which is not exactly a pivot, but it's something that we kind of expected, which means that the allocation of capital was in fact correct. So there's a lot of things that's kind of floating around out there that's what I believe is the reason why we're seeing the slowdown momentum, because people are looking for that moment of truth, that moment of pivot, saying, okay, here's what the next quarter is going to look like. Here's what we're going to do. Here's our revised numbers, which Powell promised to give at the last meeting. So I think that's a lot of the reasons here. But if you're looking to get into the coin, wait for these candles to close, but especially because of where we are in the trend here. This is we're in a gap here, and this is, if you go back and look at my video when I was saying wait for as far as we're grabbing liquidity and these gap up, because this isn't like a straight arrow down. This is several candlesticks. This is playing out perfectly to what I thought would happen. So we didn't have the complete gap down. It wasn't like that overwhelming gap up, but this can still fill. Just because we didn't get the complete thing in one day, this is a daily candle. This can still fill, and we can still go down into the low 22 range, even the mid 21 range, to grab liquidity here, to strengthen momentum, to see if we're going to bounce back up, or even have the consolidation take place here. But I just knew that it wasn't going to stay at these levels here, especially with these rejections and the momentum weakening. I just knew it was going to have to grab liquidity, and typically, you go down to grab liquidity. So that wasn't a very difficult call to make. So keep in mind here, so it's not saying that this is going to necessarily get a bounce here at around the 22,189 range. We can certainly go down to like the mid 20s, and if there's not enough liquidity there, then we're going to see 20K again before we have some of the liquidity kind of come in to kind of pump the brakes on this. So that can be an indicator for what to expect overall in the market. So we see the allocation coming on. You'll see these breaks. They'll trend typically together with Bitcoin, but you'll typically see these trends as the other coins kind of scramble to grab liquidity as well. You'll see kind of like this bow here with Doge, and you'll see us we're pretty much bouncing off of the eight range here, and that's a great place for us to grab liquidity. Now, I will say, similar to what we were talking about with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was a little bit closer to that level, if this does not hold, there's not enough liquidity here, because if we look here, again, it's choppy, but this is still all green. These are gaps. These are gaps. These are gaps. Gaps, 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 all the way back. This is gaps. So if we don't hold here, it's very possible we can get a bounce here from this is not a straight line, but it's possible we can get, let me extend this one. Yeah, that's a little better. Excuse me. It's possible you can get one from like the mid 7 range, but if not, then we're looking at a fill at around 7. So this is very important. This level that we're at right now is extremely important for Doge holding up, because we've seen what's happened like the last 6 or 7 times in this range. So history is not, it's not 100%, but it certainly gives you an indicator of what's to come. So, and Ethereum is the one that's really in the biggest trouble if it's mirroring any of this. So Ethereum, yeah, so we still have some range here. If Ethereum fills this gap, Anything under 1500, Ethereum's in big trouble for that highway, that fall into the abyss. So this here is very dangerous. Again, you can see confirmations all the way back, just like Doge. So Ethereum, if these brakes aren't pumped, if we have that weakening volume, especially if this lasts until the Fed meeting and there's no catalyst or influx of cash, you can probably hold out on buying Ethereum and get a much better price down here. Doge as well. That's why I'm saying, wait until these candles close and kind of assume, especially if you're still in your accumulation phase, or if you're just jumping in at great buys and you don't have like a set amount, like monthly or something like that. Certainly, there's some indications that you can potentially get some better buys here relatively soon. Um, yeah, so Cardano has a few. This is not necessarily a strong level, but again, I don't get worried about Cardano until 32. So you get about 4 cents between Cardano where it is right now and 32 cent. If we fill this gap here and we go down to around 24, 25 cents, I am certainly a buyer at that range. Yeah, for here, absolutely. And same thing with Ethereum. Let me go back because I've been not necessarily rooting for it to go down, but if we fill this and we start getting around 1,000 range, 1,100, I am a buyer. I like Bitcoin at 20K and I don't even have to look at that one. Doge, anything within that range where I broke down a while here for the lines to pop up. But I know it starts at 7 cent, and I think it goes down to like 5 with some overshoot down to like 4 range. But anything within that range, if we get some overshoot below that 7 range, then I'm a buyer at anything in that range. So just because of my coin count and stuff like that, I don't necessarily buy when it runs. I don't believe in buying runs. Love buying consolidations though, but anything within that range, I'll say 5 to 7 cent. I'm a buyer. I don't know what's going on. There's some lag here with my lines. I'm not sure where you at. Okay, it's they're not going to pop up. It's weird. Let me try refreshing it. I want to show you guys what I was talking about, but TradingView has been. I recorded a few videos even for my group and stuff earlier, and TradingView has been lagging like all night. Okay, but anyway, oh wait, okay, I guess Bitcoin loaded as I was getting ready to change, but okay, whatever. But yeah, anyway, I know that it's going to be. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so anything within this range here, like what I'm looking for, some overshoot like this down. If so, anything below like 709 to 523, this range here, I'm a buyer. So those are my buying ranges, and those are kind of what I'm expecting to kind of play out. Where that liquidity is going to be, where it has been, and we'll kind of see if it's still there or if we need to go lower. But overall, liquidity is typically going to still be there. The question is how much, and that's going to give us an indication. But I'm not expecting any big moves, any big scenarios for action until we get some ideas from Powell going forward. Because as of right now, with the sentiment of the market, you see SPY falling, all that kind of good stuff. It's going to be not necessarily panic, but we're pricing in what I believe Powell is going to say is going to be the continuation of not doing a pivot and saying that we're probably going to do the full 5.25%. We're at, I believe, 4.75 now. So next month we're expected to get 0.25, and the next meeting we're expected to get 0.25 to put us at that 5.25. So we were kind of having some hopium in the market over the last month saying that, okay, we're going to pivot and just get a 5, or there's a pause coming up. I don't think that's the case. So I think the market right now is kind of pricing in the fact that this is going to roll over. This is in fact going to roll over into Q2 and possibly early Q3 for this year. So I think the market's just making those adjustments, but we'll get that confirmation next month at the meeting, And of course, if Powell decides otherwise, saying that, we anticipated it, everything's good, we think that we're going to do just another 0.25 and pause, then we're going to have a rally. So, but again, that's something we're going to have to determine next month. So it's kind of up in the air right now. So I'm expecting there to be liquidity grabs where we consolidate lower and grab some liquidity, or just a sideways consolidation here as we just kind of drift into the unknown until we get some concrete information. So I'll provide you with updates as they happen, as we see any breakouts. Like I said, I gave you my zones as far as where I'm buying. I would start, if we're going to do that liquidity grab on your level, I decide that where you're going to buy, where you're going to make your entries. If you're going to do something like that, this is just my report, but ultimately, just kind of prepare to make those entries, or however you choose to play the coin, really. And one more thing before you go, don't forget, there is a waiting list. I'm going to be releasing some more information about my website, where we're going over trading and just a lot of different aspects of investing. We're going to have things on real estate and just all types of business stuff in there that I've done, and a lot of the knowledge that I've accumulated over the years. So if you want to be on the waiting list for that, there is a link in the description section, as well as on the community page, but it's probably a little bit down. So just go to the description section and get on the waiting list, and I will get you more info. So if you like anything I had to say, share the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I will see you in the next one.